Welcome back to the Fish Life Podcast, guys. Sorry, my phone was going nuts. To my left, your right. See, I didn't get messed up this time.
You just can't talk. Dude, you're all hopped up on Mountain Dew tonight. What's going on? Who? Wait a minute, you just said that you didn't say who I am.
Oh,
You just got
Billy Lawson.
It's like to my left, your right.
Oh my God.
That same guy that's always here. It's okay, folks. I don't mind. Yes, I am Billy Lawson. My name's Billy Lawson.
Everybody breathe.
And to my right, your left, his name is Chris Blackman.
Yo.
We are together
In the building.
the host of the Fish Life or Sixth Sense podcast, apparently.
I mean, something.
There's six and then six and then six and I should have wore a Sixth Sense hat, then we would have six Sixth Sense pieces of apparel.
We'd have six Sixth Sense pieces of apparel.
Yeah.
Is that the way you said it?
Close enough. Close
I
enough.
brought half your dog out here with
I know. Here's yes, my dog does love to love on you. That's for sure. She looks forward to you coming over every Sunday evening. So, new schedule. You guys are hearing this right now, but from now on, the podcast will be airing on Tuesday evenings on the Your Lake 4 Guy channel. It will also be uploaded to Podbean, which will put it out on all the podcast airwaves, be that iTunes or wherever you may consume your podcast at. You should be able to find it if you search Fish Life. The life is spelled with a Y, L-Y-F-E. Man, because it's the best damn fishing podcast out there
ever.
I don't know about all that.
Ever.
That's a pretty loose definition of that term, if you ask me.
No, I think it's pretty firm.
Okay, good deal. So the big deal tonight, we're all kind of nervous and beside ourselves because we have a special guest tonight. And when I say special, I mean special.
Oh, yeah.
Like a guy who me and him are about as big a fanboy of this guy as anyone could be. Like
1,000%.
one of our guys that we listen to it's actually a musical artist that is very much into bass fishing and is a very good bass fisherman from what I've been told. I haven't got the chance to fish with him yet, but I've been told that he is a really good fisherman. Mr. Cody Cannon from Whiskey Myers. Whiskey Myers is a band from right here in his hometown of Tyler. I live right up the road from Tyler, Texas. Great band, a little bit of alternative country, you might say. Mm-hmm. It's like...
honestly, I'm going to call it Texas country the way it was supposed to be originated.
It is Texas country. It reminds me a lot of the old cross-Canadian ragweed days when the original...
Right.
It's kind of like Leonard Skinner meets some like 70s and 80s country.
Yeah.
And just mesh all that up with a little bit of badass attitude and you got Whiskey Myers.
That's right.
And it is some really, really good music. It's arguably my favorite band on earth right now is Whiskey Myers. So we're going to talk to Cody Cannon, the lead singer from Whiskey Myers tonight, which is a big freaking deal for us.
Yes.
Because despite all the loose definitions of best whatever, we're really not that great at anything. So the fact that somebody that is truly great at what he does is going to spend time with us is a very big deal, man. What else going on, Chris?
Man, I'm tired of the rain. It's muddying up this water. The worst time of the year it could happen.
Yeah, we want to start looking at them on beds. They started bedding good about a week ago. I mean, they started bedding really good about a week and a half ago. And so we're all wanting to look at them. Mm-hmm. It was about a week and a half ago. They started just really jumping on the beds like crazy. Obviously, the guys that watch MLF tournament, which we will talk about a little more in depth. We'll do a recap on that tournament after it's been finished now. While they were here, they just started jumping on beds. It's like the whole lake started spawning. And then after they leave, I mean, we just get torrential downpour after torrential downpour, and the lake did flood. It was rising. Even as the gates, they opened up all the gates, the lake was still rising. So there's a lot of dirty water in Lake Fork right now. A lot of changing water condition, color-wise and height-wise. The water elevation is going up. Now it's coming back down, and they'll level it back out around full pool and then close the gates, I would imagine. Yet to be seen. We'll see how it goes. So I think we're going to actually have, though, the good news is going forward this week, going into this weekend, we're going to have some really stable weather.
Yes.
Some 80-degree weather, some no rain. We're going to have some sunshine. Sunshine's going to help these spawning bass get up there.
That's right.
Also, we got a new moon on Tuesday night. The day that you guys are listening to this as it airs, there's a new moon happening that night, which is going to bring another wave. It won't be as major of a wave. Nowhere nearly as major of a wave. Because what I think happened was we had like two waves that got condensed. Like the first little wave that we normally have in the beginning kind of got stalled out by the weather, and most of those fish did not go into spawn. Then the next wave, which is normally our first kind of big wave, that second wave, they came in, combined with that first wave, and all jumped on the bed at the same time. That's why we saw so many fish all across the lake.
That's right.
Spawning at once. Because usually we have fish spawning on the north end of the lake when there's no fish spawning on the south end. Well, this last week, they all spawned at the same time. Like they all started spawning across the lake. So now we've got another wave coming in. Should start to come in this week with that sunshine, clear weather, 80-degree temps, all that good stuff is going to bring them in. So by the time you guys get here this weekend and go fishing over the weekend, we might be fishing all week, apparently.
Might be.
If you guys are out of work, you can fish all week. But either way, as we get towards the end of the week, there'll be a lot of new fishing on beds, a lot of females locking on beds towards the end of the week. It should be really, really good fishing this week, honestly.
Should be good. And I'll be the first to say it. We'll talk more about it later, but we were wrong about what it takes to win that tournament because they leaned heavily on that sight fishing deal.
Oh, yeah. No, the conditions made that happen.
Right, exactly.
Well, what's funny is you talk to any of those guys, and what they were doing in practice versus what they did in the tournament was different.
Oh, completely different.
It was different. In fact, I watched some of Jacob Wheeler's pre-fishing episodes, and he was talking about a lot of the same stuff we were, and it totally changed. But going forward, the sight fishing is definitely in play at this point. I mean, from here on out, as long as it's not too muddy or the water's not changing too much to see them, on the days when you can actually see them, sight fishing's in play. Even when you can't see them, fishing for those spawning fish is in play. Also, some of the main lake stuff is going to start coming back in play. Now that some of those fish are done spawning, they'll start funneling back out. Some of those big females will start funneling back out, along with the females that have yet to spawn. They're pulling in. We'll start getting some of that two-way go. These main lake fishermen are about to start jacking them. These guys that don't like Mark Pack, all he does is fish the stuff out on the main lake and in the mouths of creeks and the secondary points. He'll start hammering down going forward because he'll have the pre and the post both intersecting on those staging areas, those stop sign spots. So that stuff's about to get real good too. So, man, it's a great time if you're a fisherman in Northeast Texas. It is as good a time as it gets to come out. With what's going on in the world today, some of us have some more free time. I know it may be putting a financial hurt on you, but boy, if you can afford to get to the lake and go fishing, now is a great time to do it. Whether you're coming to Lake Fork or any of these lakes, really. It's just, and I say this every year, kind of from March 20 to June 10. When people ask me what's the best time to come, that's by far the most consistent. Like, you're going to have a good solid day every day. Pretty much from March 20 to June 10, there ain't very many bad days out there fishing. You're going to catch them. You're going to catch something, you know.
That would be something with size, too.
That's the deal, is that, that's the time of year when all these big fish get in those accessible areas. So I'm kind of anxious to get tonight's guest on the phone. How about you?
Come on with it.
I think we should go ahead and give this man a call. So we're going to do it right now.
Hello, can you hear me?
I got you. Mr. Cody Cannon joining us on the Fish Life Podcast. Cody, how are you doing, sir?
All right, man. Out here on the porch, social distancing. How y'all doing?
We're sitting in my garage, social distancing. I got my buddy Chris Blackman. He helps me with the podcast here, and I'm gonna tell you, anything that he's carrying, I've had for a long time at this point. So we should be good. Speaking of social distancing, I mean, fishing, that's like the best thing you can do. You go out there on your boat by yourself or with one buddy, and you just put him on the back deck, then he's 10 feet away, and you're covered, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully they don't shut that off, man. That's what I'm hoping. I'm going to freak out if they do that.
I think there'll be a lot of rednecks going a little. I don't know that they want that many rednecks going that dang stir crazy all at once. That might be more dangerous than anything this virus has to offer.
Yeah, that's the only thing keeping me sane right now.
Yes, sir.
We're off for like 3 months or something like that.
So we told the viewers, who you are and what you do and everything, and you'll probably get to hear this and watch this, but we churched you up a little bit and talked about how great you were. But you guys, obviously, with what you do, I mean, that's the opposite of social distancing. When y'all go play a show, there's thousands of people at times at these places, and that's probably something we're not going to be allowed to do until this deal's all cleared up, right?
Yeah, man, that was one of the first things they shut down. We were on tour, man. We were in Ohio, and we kind of were hearing some stuff going out there, that they might start shutting stuff down, and then like people's phones started going off, and it was like this show canceled, this, and then the governor comes on in Ohio. It's like, hey, this is all canceled, and it was pretty wild to be out there and getting all the emails and stuff. It was pretty crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is something I don't think we've ever seen the likes of anything like that. We've never seen anything quite like this in any of our lifetimes. This is a uncharted waters. We're all trying to figure out how to navigate it, and honestly, we're all trying to figure out how we're going to make sure we stay alive and feed our families if this deal stays going on too long. it could bring on all kinds of complications. And not to harp on the negative aspects of it, because I don't like doing that type of stuff. But man, it's a bad deal, and I know we'll be sending the best wishes your way. And I know you guys need to get back on the road whenever you can. I know. So with y'all shows, what are they going to do? I mean, are you guys going to have to reschedule that for another time of year? Or?
Yeah, well, how we are, man. We're like booked for most of the year, but I think all the ones as of right now have been rescheduled for the end of the year. We had some open dates, and then you either reschedule them or you come back and see them next year. That's really all you can do. And we're fine. We're kind of been blessed, but there's a lot of people that really get to play those shows every week. To get by and stuff, and so. Especially in this day and age with how streaming is and stuff and not selling records, a lot of the artists, all their income, like 90% of their income is from touring. So. Yeah,
I can imagine
yeah.
The way things are now, downloading music and all that has totally changed the dynamic of how you guys operate in that industry, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, let's talk about some fun stuff, because I know you love to bass fish. Now, I've heard about and seen about, seen some pictures of you and stuff. I know you love, and you kind of bass fish all over the place. Man, what is the deal? Like, how did you get so involved in bass fishing?
Well, man, I've been fishing my whole life, really. That was probably the first thing I ever wanted to do, man. I never even thought about playing music. I thought I was just going to, I had to write this paper when I was in fourth grade about what I was going to do, and I wrote that I was going to be a fishing guide. So playing music and being an artist was like the farthest thing from my mind. So it's just something I've always did, since I was a kid.
Now, where did you grow up at, Cody?
I'm from Natchez, Texas, which is outside of Palestine, Texas, about 20 minutes.
So did you grow up fishing? Like, where'd you grow up fishing? Was it like Lake Palestine, or were you kind of a pond guy growing up, or where'd you fish?
Yeah, man, we was poor. We didn't have no boat. we pond top, man. But, my dad and my tour manager's dad, they used to take us on spring breaks. We used to go to Fork, a lot of spring breaks when we were kids. So, I fished Fork quite a bit growing up. And then, Lake Jacksonville and stuff like that. But, most of it you just fish farm ponds and stuff like that.
Hey, absolutely, man. I was fortunate growing up. I had a dad that took me out on Lake Conroe a lot and Sam Rayburn quite a bit, and I grew up down there in Southeast Texas. But predominantly, I think most of us as kids, we all fish ponds. I remember every day getting off of school and then running, quarter mile, half mile down the road, walking down there and fishing somebody's pond or whatever,
Yeah, tennis shoe leases.
Yeah. We used to say, now listen, I say this jokingly because all the people, fortunately where I live, the people around us were really nice about letting us fish, and we took good care of the place. We never tore anything up or anything, so they let us fish. But my joke was I had running rights to fish any pond I saw, and what that meant was I reserved the right to run if I got caught fishing it.
Yeah, we would just get on the railroad tracks, man, and just walk down the railroad tracks for miles and miles. There would be all kinds of ponds and stuff, on the side. I had no idea whose land it was on or anything. We were kids, but we would just go back there and walk forever and just hit every pond you could.
That's awesome. That's really cool, man. Now, I know you've done a lot. You've gone to Lake Fork quite a few times, and you've caught some really big fish. What's the biggest fish you've ever caught out of Lake Fork?
I caught a 10-pounder, man, about 3 years ago. That's my only double digit.
Whew, that's awesome, dude. 10-pounder is
10 even, man. I've caught a lot of 8s and 9s, but it's hard to break that double digit thing, man.
People don't realize, man, that double digit mark is a very rare thing. As much as I fish, I only see it about a handful of times a year, fishing as often as I do on probably the best trophy bass lake in existence. I still only see it. And there's a lot of what we call Facebook 10s out there. You'll see a lot of people say I caught a 10-pounder. It's legit. 10-pounders are hard to come by.
Yeah, when you actually weigh it, it's 10 pounds. Yeah, a lot of people, they're like, oh, man, I caught a 10 the other day. It's like 5 pounds or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how big of a guy you are. Like me, I got to catch a pretty big fish to even fake it being 10. But Chris, he'll hold up a 5-pounder, and it looks like a new state record. Easy. Well, man, that's awesome. I know me and you got something coming up. We're actually going to link up because you told me the other day you actually have watched some of the content we've put out here at the Your Lake Fork Guide YouTube deal. And me and you are going to link up this coming Wednesday, Lord willing the creek don't rise, and go shoot a video for Your Lake Fork Guide.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Actually, my bus driver Todd told me about it. That's kind of how I come about finding it. And contrary to what people think, man, when you're on tour, you don't have a lot to do. You spend a lot of time just kind of, just maybe looking at YouTube or watching fishing videos and stuff like that. So, I'm excited. I like what y'all do, man. I think it's really cool, the approach y'all take on giving people information and stuff like that. So, I'm excited to be a part of it, man. Glad y'all having me.
Well, man, I'm gonna tell you that's a big dadgum deal here for us because, bro, I've been rocking out to some Whiskey Myers for a hot minute now, and the fact that you've actually consumed some of the content we've put out and enjoyed it, thank you, man. That means a lot to me personally, and I can't wait to finally meet you in person this week, and hopefully we're gonna put some big fish in the boat. I know we're gonna get out there and give them hell anyway.
Yeah. We're going to make a couple mad at least. We'll hit them in the head or something.
We're going to aggravate the fire out of them. Yeah, dang right, man.
Yeah, I think it's cool, too, y'all, a lot of fishing shows you grow up watching and stuff, it's real generic content, and I think y'all actually give in-depth content, which is really neat. A lot of people aren't doing that. It's just real generic stuff that you knew since you're 10 years old. And so I think that's really unique that y'all do that. Well,
I appreciate you saying that, man. That's kind of been the goal. When I started doing this, my deal was basically, I come from a background of I wasn't, a lot of guys that end up in the guide business or whatever, they grew up in it, grew up around it, they knew somebody, they were heavily involved at a high level of bass fishing. Man, I was, like you were saying, I was a pond hopping kid, walked down the road, fished the ponds. I fished lakes with my dad, but it wasn't like we were signing up for tournaments. I never fished any tournaments growing up. I had no idea of any avenue to get into the profession. And so when I moved here, when I got out of the Marine Corps, and I moved it right here around Lake Fork, and I started fishing a lot again, I was just a weekend guy. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything about social media or fishing websites. I just went fishing and tried to figure it out. And it was really hard for me to find helpful information when I was doing that, because I was watching every TV fishing show I could record on DVR back then, and it was just hard to find, even looking up reports on the internet, specific helpful information. It was all generic stuff like you talk about. So when I started making this content, that was the main goal, was to help the guy that's like I was, where you're just trying to fish on the weekend, and you're just trying to get as much helpful information as you can to curve that learning curve when you're not able to be on the water every day. So that's what we were trying to do, man. And hearing someone like you say that we actually accomplished that task that's a big deal. So again, thank you very much.
Hell yeah, man.
Well, that's awesome. Now, I know you're a fan of the sport, obviously. Did you get to watch the live streaming, the coverage of the MLF event that was here?
Yeah, I did. I definitely tuned. I fish Athens a lot, man. So I watched that whole day. That was pretty neat. But yes, they were out there practicing. I took my dad out there Sunday. Hell, I didn't know they were going to be practicing or we wouldn't have went. And so we got to see them practice and stuff. And then I watched it, and I know that lake real well, so it was cool seeing all the places, that they were fishing and stuff. I was like, oh, man, I was there the other day. He's about to catch one. And then they would. And then when I pulled through the bridge and they started schooling, man, I just looked at my wife. I said, oh, he's about to win it.
Yeah.
Because I know how many fish can be there. But I tuned in for the Lake Fork part too. See, I went to the Bassmaster Classic. The Lure Lock people had us out, and I got to watch that. We actually are one of the sponsors for Lee Livesey.
Yep.
Yep, it was a buddy of mine, and so we sponsored him, and we got to go out there and check out all that stuff. And then I got to actually meet and eat dinner with Matt Lee and stuff. So it was really neat getting to do that, and then watching them fish and stuff. So I tuned in for pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah, it was an incredible event, man. They really, they went out there and, they had like perfect stars in line with the weather, but all the fish ran in the bank, and them boys got to whacking on them, man. And then that Athens deal, like you said, with Ott, I would have never guessed that somebody would have won that event on offshore schooling bass in the middle of March.
Hey, I was there, like I said, I fished there a lot, but I was there in like January, and there was the whole cove I was in. The whole cove had schooling fish in it. It was crazy.
Wow.
In January. And a bald eagle flew down right beside my boat and picked up about 1.5 pounds bass and flew off with it. It was wild.
Good night, son. That'd be cool to see anyway. Yeah, Lake Atkins, they do. You know, I've always known, like, especially in the summertime, like July and August, man, they school there, and it'll be like acres of schooling bass, and it gets really, like, wild and crazy there. I just wasn't expecting it that time of year, but you're saying they were even doing it in January. That's almost even weirder, you know?
I mean,
Yeah, the whole cove, man. There was hundreds of them schooling in January. They school a lot by that bridge. I didn't know he was going to be, you know, catching 9-pounders and stuff under them, though.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else did, including the rest of the Major League Fishing field.
Yeah.
Apparently, because once he got them going, he run off and left everybody like they were standing still.
Yeah. I said, man, I'll never be able to fish that bridge again, but that's all right. It was cool. It was worth it watching.
Yeah, you will have to take a number. Yeah, that's one thing that will happen. Now, one thing I'll say about Athens, it's gotten a lot of pressure over the last few years. It's gotten more popular amongst the locals, and it's a small lake, so it doesn't take a lot of boats to put a lot of pressure on it. It's going to get even more pressure now, but if any little lake can handle it, it's probably Athens, because it has held up so well to the pressure it's been getting the last couple of years. There's just so many fish in that lake. As long as they keep that grass healthy in there, I think that population will actually stand up to the pressure pretty well.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine, man. Besides, you know, if you pulling up to try to get on your spot or something, or a place you wanted to go fishing, and there'll be a bunch of boats. But as far as the fish, man, there's so much grass in that lake. There's just millions of fish in there.
Yep. That's the deal. You know, another East Texas lake like Lake Welsh has it's the whole lake's lined with hydrilla out to about 10 or 12 foot, and with all that much grass in there, Lake Welsh gets just, for how small it is, it's only like 800, 900 acres or something like that. It gets throttled in the wintertime, but it just keeps producing every day because there's so many fish in it, it just holds up to it.
Yeah, grass is amazing. That's like the key. That's like the key component, man.
It is. Grass changes everything with bad. Like, grass is the X factor. One thing that I have been asked a few times, you know, over the last few years is, if you're going to a new body of water, how do you start to break it down? Where do you start? I say, well, the first question I have to answer on any lake that I'm going to that I've never been on is there grass? Because that changes everything. If there's healthy grass, there's going to be fish in it year round. If there's healthy grass, there's going to be a bigger population. It just changes so much.
Yeah, you can catch fish in grass any time of year too. So
That's right.
That'll help you out if you can find the grass.
That's right. Absolutely, dude. Well, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast and doing this little interview deal with us. And can't thank you enough for watching the channel. And I can't thank you enough for coming to see me Wednesday. So I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. We appreciate you joining us tonight, bud.
Yeah, man. Appreciate y'all having me, man. Y'all keep doing y'all's thing.
You bet. Before we let you go, though, we got a couple questions we got to ask you.
I forgot. I got so excited to talk to Cody Cannon, I ran right past and went all the way to the end.
Don't worry, I was going to read it back in.
So we do have two questions we ask every guest. I'm going to let Chris take it from here.
All right, Cody. First one is Biggie or Tupac?
I'd say Tupac, man.
I told you he was going to go Tupac.
I'm a fan of the.
I can't wait to hear this next one. This is a good question for. This next one's a great question for a music guy.
Yeah, you know, really, on all that West Coast sound, you know, Dr. Dre was really responsible for all that stuff, man.
Dang
he was
right.
engineering it and making all the beats and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
We could use Dr. Dre in this time and match right now. Whoa.
Yeah, he's a genius.
So, all right, next question. This is a good one. If you could bring back a hairstyle, what hairstyle would you bring back?
Oh, mullet, no question.
I mean,
He's from East Texas, folks. Don't worry.
okay, now.
I used to have a mullet, man.
All right, so hold on. Let me backtrack a little bit. The John Daly or the Joe Dirt?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess.
You know, John Daly had that little kind of short, like, businessman mullet, but Joe Dirt had like the Billy Ray Cyrus deal going on.
Yeah, Joe Diffie had a real good one too.
Joe Diffie.
I think like the '90s, like big mustache mullet, like country star,
Like Seth Fighter on the BASS.
Yeah, hey, then that put a perm in there, man, and get some ringlets, and that's solid country gold right there.
Well, we talked about old rap, and there is an old rap song that says there's no such thing as halfway crook. There's no such thing as halfway mullet.
I mean, if you have the perfect mullet like that, I mean, you automatically get a record deal, right? Like before they even hear you sing.
Yeah, no question.
Is that how you got signed? Did you have your mullet?
I had my mullet when I was about 6.
Oh man, that's awesome stuff, dude. That's awesome stuff. Oh my god, I wish we would have done that in the beginning. I screwed up the rotation.
It's all right. I was gonna read you back in. I didn't forget. I'm like an elephant.
Well, Cody, man, that's awesome, brother. We appreciate you so much, and I'll see you here in a couple days. We'll go get after them, bud.
Hey, man, I appreciate it.
All right, y'all have a good one.
Thank you.
Love you.
That was pretty cool.
How did I know he's gonna go with mullet though?
I mean, yeah, he's from East Texas,
Right?
Like you know, he's Tyler boy, Palestine boy, Natchez, whatever. It's all the same area.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the culture around here, man.
God, if I could grow out a mullet at work. Whew. Whew.
You wish you could grow a mullet right now?
No, I mean, no, not really. But I'm just saying, if I could,
Would you though? So pause for station identification. Would you grow a mullet if you were allowed to at your job?
if there was any time that I would, now would be the time before I do my punishment on Lake of the Pines. Because I feel like the mullet would just set that.
Another
completely
pause
off.
for station identification. Do we need to borrow the famous Captain Ron mullet wig for your punishment? I think maybe we ought to add that in there. Bonus punishment.
I ain't trying to get lice.
I ain't trying to get lice. That wig.
You think
it's
he'd let me?
Oh yeah.
You think he would?
he'd let you. He'd let you. But I mean, that wig might have coronavirus at this point. Who knows? It's Captain Ron.
Yeah, but he ain't been in Mexico.
He was like 2 months ago.
Yeah, but I mean,
He literally was in Mexico like a month and a half, 2 months ago.
and they do brew Corona down there, so
Oh my goodness, that would be awesome. I think we should make you wear a mullet wig.
I think the mullet wig is better than the lightning bolts, honestly.
For those that don't know, that are just tuning in for the first time, we had a little bet on Chris's had a club tournament in a club he fishes in on his home lake. He lives on Lake Palestine.
Yep.
They had a 2-day event there, and the bet was if he didn't win. What was the bet? If you don't win,
You got to pick the punishment.
I got to pick the punishment. One of the comments was if he doesn't win, he has to wear a Hawaiian shirt, purple pajama pants.
No, just pajama pants and purple Crocs.
Hawaiian shirt, pajama pants, and purple Crocs. And if he doesn't get in the top 5, I get to cut lightning bolts in the side of his head.
Right.
Well, he didn't get anywhere near anything around the top 5.
Yeah, no, I don't.
So he's getting all of the above. And we can't add a mullet wig, though, because that wouldn't show your lightning bolts.
Well, I think the mullet wig's better than lightning bolts given the rest of the
Oh,
outfit.
you're getting the lightning bolts.
Fair enough.
That's part of the viewer requested punishment that we picked. So you have to
I
have the
ain't got a
lightning bolts.
haircut since. So,
Normally he keeps it shaved pretty tight. He's growing the hair out so the lightning bolts will show. Stay tuned for future episodes. 'Cause
I'm doing my due diligence.
the deal is he's going to wear this get up at his next club tournament.
On
So we have to
Saturday.
do that the day before his club tournament. We're going to cut the lightning bolts in.
That's right. It's going to be great.
What date
Can't
is
wait.
that coming up?
It is April 18th.
We're getting there. We're getting there, folks. A few more episodes and you will see the lightning bolt tournament fishing Chris Blackman.
And then you also told me that if I don't catch a fish on a frog on Lake of the Pines in April, that I have to do another punishment. But don't worry. It's not going to happen.
Okay. Are you agreeing to that? I didn't know you agreed to that.
I don't think
Are you
gave
in?
me- you didn't give me a choice.
I didn't give- He's agreeing to it, folks. So drop comments on this one as well. New punishment: if he doesn't catch a frogfish on Lake of the Pines at his April tournament, we get a new punishment. Comment the punishment down below. I'll pick him another one. We're just going to make this abuse. We're going to make this the abuse Chris. You know, at some point we're going to have to pick something for me to do where you can punish me.
Well, I mean, I hate to be this way, but listeners, you're not going to be able to see your punishment come to fruition, because I will. If they'll eat a frog, I will catch them.
You do throw a frog a lot.
Yeah.
It's Pines, like it's a frog lake,
Right.
and it's April.
And if I don't, I'll call you during the tournament, like right when we put the boat on the trailer and go, look, dude, what are we doing? I'll do it for a month.
He'll just bow down to that one.
Jesus.
No pushback whatsoever.
None. So,
Well, that's great, man. You know what? Like we briefly talked about with Cody, there was an unbelievable tournament that just took place on Lake Fork. I mean, that MLF tournament was just
out of control.
Woo! We talked about how tough it was on Okeechobee, where there was like 13 pounds, 15 pounds was qualifying weight. It took like 60 pounds to qualify after the first 2 days on Fork.
Yep.
60 pounds for 2 days of fishing just to make the cut, Jack.
Cut in Group A was Aaron Martin, squeaked in at 69.
Do what?
Yeah,
Is 69 in Group A?
69 in Group A.
Holy
65
cow.
didn't even fish.
Look at this. He caught 50 on day one.
I know. I go to
Wow.
Group B. What was the cut in Group B?
50 pounds.
So, yeah.
50 pounds in Group B. 69? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
69 pounds. I mean, if you're Skeet Reese, you just caught 65 pounds, okay, in 2 days of fishing, and you didn't make the cut. Cody Myers, 63 pounds. Randall Tharp, 62. Talk, homeboy, one of my number one pick, 61 pounds, 60 pounds, 56 pounds. Wow. I mean, just wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. Now, let's talk about the top end of that group because Mark Daniels Jr., that day one performance was just, we talked about it already on the last podcast. That was unbelievable. But as we were sitting there filming the last podcast, day two of Group A was taking place. Jeff Sprague almost caught him.
He did.
And they finished up after their first 2 days at 111 and 106. Sprague had 106. Homeboy Jeff Sprague, one of our top picks for the tournament, came in second during his group stage and then made it to the final as well. So good job to Jeff Sprague. Great tournament. He got to Lake Athens. Didn't have the day he wanted to have on Lake Athens, I know. But, I mean, listen, top 10 in that group.
Pretty salty.
That's real salty. And then we'll go back and talk about Lake Fork some more here in a minute. But let's fast forward to this Ott Defoe situation on Lake Athens. Because as that day progressed, it was going along as expected, right? Like, there were some guys catching some bed fish. There were some guys catching fish on the edges of grass. That's kind of what everybody's thinking is going to happen. And the fishing wasn't all that great that day, honestly. But
It really wasn't.
towards the end of that tournament, we had some colder weather kept coming for a few days in a row at the end of that tournament. And it kept dropping those water temps, which was making those fish slower and slower and slower and harder to catch. And so I kind of, that wasn't that surprising to see it not be just great fishing, especially early in the day. As the day went on, some guys started finding some groups of fish on the grass. Brent Chapman did. Alton Jones Jr. did as well. But Ott Defoe found a school of bass kind of in the middle of the lake in some deeper water that were actually schooling. They were sand bass schooling. And we've worked this scenario on Lake Fork before in the past. We've seen this. Those sand bass and those smaller bass get the schooling on bait, and those big giant ones will sit underneath them.
And what they're doing is they're waiting for the bait fish that get knocked out because them sand bass will freaking torpedo them bait fish.
They're waiting for the bait fish to get knocked out. Also, what happens is those sand bass get to schooling, and some of those sand bass aren't very big.
Correct.
They're 7,
Right.
8, 9 inches long. Perfect size for a meal for an 8 to 10 pound bass.
Looking for a lazy meal.
Those sand bass will get up there and get to schooling and wear themselves out and get full and get lazy and kind of drift down under the school. And we've seen this on our graph. As those sand bass start to sink when they're schooling,
You'll start seeing huge streaks.
you'll see these giant fish that are sitting down there at 20 foot, and then they'll streak up and eat. You can see them hit. We've seen this go down on our electronics before when we've been out on Lake Fork on sand bass schools in the summertime.
That's right.
That pattern's great. Like, I know that pattern. I've seen that pattern. I've caught fish on that pattern. I have never seen it happen in March.
No, neither have I. But I mean, like to Cody's point,
He said they were schooling, and I believe him.
we were catching them on Hallbrook in January schooling.
That's insane. That's the two best schooling lakes in this region is
Right.
Athens and Hallbrook.
Right.
And Athens is number one, and Hallbrook's number two.
That's right.
And they school on those two lakes better than they do anywhere else. There was somewhere else I was going with this. I just lost my train of thought. But
You were saying that just that finding that bridge pattern.
yeah, so story goes, Ott Defoe wasn't expecting to find schooling bass either in March. He drove across the bridge that he caught them out in front of. As he was driving across that bridge to go practice there while the other tournament was still going on, he saw schooling bass north of that bridge in the middle of that bay.
Correct.
Went over there, caught him in practice, caught a few, said, okay, this is the deal. If I can get these fish going, I'll win this. Because it's an every fish count format. If you catch schooling bass, you're going to run away from them.
Right.
He fished that area where they were schooling on during practice in the morning and didn't catch them. Caught a couple, didn't catch them though. Did not find the fish he was expecting to find. Those fish had moved. Schooling bass will move on you.
Oh, yeah.
They're just following the bait around. They moved south of the bridge. He found them later in the day, and boy, when he found them, that was one of the most unprecedented runs we've ever seen in
a hurry.
all of tournament bass fishing history. I'm not sure that we've ever seen anything quite that insane.
No, because is that where the 9-pounder come from?
That's where all of it came
That's
from.
where all of it came
he
from?
caught 50 pounds of bass in a little over an hour.
On a DT10 and a jerkbait.
Yeah. fishing under schooling fish with a DT tent. Like 50 pounds of bass in an hour and 15 minutes.
It's crazy.
It was insane. It was like, I mean, he was catching them every cast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was fishing with a customer. We had it on. I was actually fishing with Cody's bus driver, Todd.
Yeah.
And we turned that live coverage on just in time to see it at the end of the day. And, I mean, we counted 6 casts in a row. He caught one there at one time.
Yep.
Heck, even after time went out, he weighed another 5-pounder. Did you see that?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Very last
Time
fish of the day.
expired.
Yep.
He landed it like 1 or 2 seconds late.
Yep.
And it was a 5-pounder. And that didn't even count. Mm-hmm. On top of that, did you see my favorite part of the whole deal was he tells his boat official, he goes, "Hey, do we have to go in when time expires or can we stay and keep catching them?" And the boat official's like, I don't know the rules. And he's like, "I'll give you a rod if we can stay." He goes, "If you'll give me a rod, we'll stay."
Yeah.
I about died laughing.
Oh my gosh. So I wanna just say this too. So we're gonna backtrack back up to Lake Fork. That Ott deal was incredible. And when I was watching the live coverage of Ott, he said, "Man, if I could have got these fish fired up when I first came here," he said, "I'd have caught well over 100 pounds."
Oh yeah.
And he ain't lying.
Oh no. He caught 50 pounds in an hour and
That's
15
what I'm
minutes.
saying.
Yeah.
He might have caught 200 pounds. Mm-hmm. You know it? So anyways, let's go back to, so I'm going to do the top 5 from Group A and Group B, and I'm going to say how many fish they caught versus the total weight they caught in qualifying.
This is in the
Buckle up.
This is in the first 4 days. 2 groups, 2 days apiece.
Correct.
Okay, let's hear it.
We'll go with Group A, number 5, Greg Hackney. He caught 25 bass for 87 pounds. Kind of good.
That's a little over a 3-pound average on 25 fish.
Keith Poche finished 4th in Group A. He caught 28 for 89.10.
About the same. About
Right.
3 pound, a little bit over 3-pound average.
Jason Christie, 25 for 97.
That's a 4-pound average.
Jeff Sprague, 29 for 106.
It's almost a 4.
Almost a 4.
Yeah.
And then MDJ,
3.5-pound average on spray.
31 for 111.
3-pound average.
Now check this out. This is where it gets interesting. Because Group B, they didn't catch as many fish.
They didn't catch as many fish. They drew the shorter end of the stick conditions-wise a little bit.
Right. So number 5.
A little bit, not bad.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible, but it was just noticeably less fish. So 5th was Jacob Porosnik, 20 for 68.
Well, if you remember before the tournament, I said whoever drew that Saturday between the spring break
Got
weeks
screwed.
got screwed. Mm-hmm. And that Group B, their first day was the Saturday.
That's right.
Whereas Group A got to go out there on Friday before that spring break Saturday crowd hit.
Right.
Because that Saturday between the 2 weeks that East Texas uses for spring break is always the busiest day of the year on Lake Fork. Add this tournament on top of that, it was insane. Those guys that got to go out on Friday before that had much more free run of the lake than those guys that started on Saturday. They never got that. And then as things developed, everybody's work shut down and nobody went back to work after spring break.
That's right.
So now Group B fishes on Saturday and Monday, and Monday's now like a weekend day.
Right.
So they never got that one day where the lake was a little bit less packed, I guess you would say.
Super packed.
Overfilled.
Mm-hmm. So we had Porosnik caught 20 for 68 pounds.
3-pound average.
Michael Neal caught 22 for 77 pounds.
Over a 3-pound average. That's a 3.5-pound average there.
Wesley Strader caught 26 for 78.
3-pound average.
Justin Atkins, 20 for 98.
Holy cow, a 5-pound average.
Damn near.
Wow.
And then Brandon Coulter with 25 for 108.
I mean, 20 for 98.
That's almost
What was Coulter's number?
25 for 108.
So a 4-pound average.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Justin, that's a 5-pound average. I mean, 20 for 98 is 100 pounds is a 5-pound average. That's insane, dude.
Dude, day one he had 9 for 51.
Let's talk about the more little fish tournament trail that everybody was saying last year.
Yeah.
This dude in an every fish format just called it a 5-pound average. Like, what?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I was on the fence with the deal until, honestly, I heard the explanation from Kelly Jordan.
Yeah.
And they were bringing that variable minimum. Then I was like, okay, this is going to set up for some really good programming. And, guys, Lake Fork proved to you.
And all they did was make it a 2-pound minimum on all these lakes where these guys can't just target the total dinks.
Right.
Like, they have to catch a pretty big fish for a
Right.
for a keeper now.
Which like it was brought up in a previous podcast, a 2-pound average is a legal bass.
Essentially, what you got is like state regs in Texas are 14 inches.
Right.
And that, for the most part, is pretty true across most places in the country.
Right.
There's different variances here and there. 14 inches is kind of the accepted minimum on length. So if you're fishing a 5-inch tournament, you got to target 14-inch fishing bigger.
Right.
Well, a 2-pounder is 15.5 inches.
Mm-hmm.
Like a 2-pounder is not like huge bigger, but it's substantially bigger than a 14-inch minimum.
You want it in your tournament bag.
Yeah. And so now these guys are not just, man, they're going to big fish fishery. I mean, let's not take Lake Fork out of the equation. Let's give Lake Fork the credit it's due. Kicked out a 5-pound average for a guy, and a lot of 4 and 3-pound average. Like, dude, that's
Pretty darn special right there.
that's real special.
So let's move to the knockout round, and we'll do the top 5 out of the night. Well, I mean, we'll run down everybody because Ott Defoe, for those who didn't watch the whole thing, squeaked his butt in the knockout round.
Barely got in.
He was the last one in.
And that was a throwdown at the end of that to get him in.
That's right, because Bobby Lane was him and Michael Neal were both nipping at his heels.
Before we go into this, let's talk about something else. In Group B, when they were doing the elimination line, right? Mm-hmm. So let me go back up. Where was it? Right here. Okay. In Group B, on the elimination line, you had Kevin Van Dam was just inside of it. Mm-hmm. And Mike Iaconelli was right there behind him. And you had 2 of the biggest names in the history of bass fishing, 2 guys that kind of have a natural rivalry that kind of don't like each other, to be honest. Mm-hmm. You know, they seem not to like each other.
Right.
They've had some disagreements, you might say. Did you see that moment when Ike caught that, was a 7-pounder?
It was a 7-pounder, and he asked his official to take a picture. He goes, "We don't catch these in New Jersey."
Yeah.
Or West Virginia, or whatever.
Yeah, I believe, the drama of this format, to have this be just on when's the last time, okay, you watched that, I watched that, everybody that watched that saw how exciting that was to have these 2 titans of the industry battling it out to make a cut and have that big 7-pounder count and know exactly where that put Iaconelli in the standings and know exactly what that did to KVD, dropping him down to just below the standings. Mm-hmm. When is the last time in a Bassmaster tournament that on day 2 you were jumping up and down going, "Oh my God!"
Oh, dude.
Because somebody qualified. That's never happened.
Never.
This format, for all the negative that it had last year about people talking about little fish, this and that, that drama, that excitement, that scorekeeping and live scoring is what is going to grow this sport. 100%. It's what will make this a real sport that moms and kids and grandmas and people that don't have... Listen, I never played basketball, but I'll watch the NBA Finals.
Right. I'm the same way.
This is what this format is going to do for bass fishing.
Yeah, people are going to watch it.
That drama, that excitement, that natural storytelling that goes on with this format is what is going to allow this sport to expand and grow into other reaches. And anything that makes this sport bigger and financially more stable is good for all of us that are involved. From a business standpoint on my end, from a fan, spectator standpoint, don't you want bass fishing to have bigger, more elaborate, badass events, for lack of a better way of saying it?
Because at the end of the day, bass fishing has always been very good about putting it back into the sport. The bigger it's grown, the more Parks and Wildlife's got involved, the more the conservation side of it's been handled necessarily. Now, if we can just get them to quit spraying, we can get shape.
As long as they ain't funding it for spraying grass, we'll be good. We're not going there again. We're not going
we already went there. We already went
twice.
There. I know. I had to throw a jab.
I'm out on the grass spraying conversation. Don't want to talk about it anymore. But yeah, dude, that was just, that format and the drama, and then the drama on the final day of Ott Defoe kind of coming from way back and catching all those bass, and then not only coming from way back, and then when he took the lead, you're like, oh, he took the lead with that 9-pounder. That was the best thing that happened. Like, he was coming up on him, and all of a sudden he catches the 9-pounder. Did you see the look on Alton Jones Jr.'s face?
Oh, yeah.
When that score tracker goes, Ott Defoe, score tracker update, Ott Defoe just caught a 9-pound something bass, and he looked back at his coach, he's like his mouth dropped. And he goes, oh, I got one too, and it's a big one. And he caught a 4-pounder, but it was like the shot across the bow of that 9-pounder hitting the score tracker. You just see it hit those guys emotionally. And that's storytelling we've never had in the sport before.
Dude, I can only imagine being neck and neck with somebody like that, and then my official on the boat telling me, well, Billy Lawson just caught a 5-pounder. Billy Lawson just caught a 4-pounder. Billy Lawson caught another. I'd be like, dude, Put it on braille. Stop.
To Alton Jr.'s credit, he caught that 9-pounder. That was a big shot across the bow. And then Alton caught that other one, kind of picked the spirits back up. So here's a almost 5-pounder, 4.5-pounder, whatever it was. He goes, well, we're behind, but we're coming. We're not that far behind. He stayed in it. But then Ott goes 5-pounder, 3-pounder, 3-pounder, 4-pounder, boom, 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 boom. And at this point, they're all buried. I mean, they're all buried.
And what people don't realize is if you didn't watch the live coverage, he wasn't catching 2-pounders. He wasn't catching the minimum bass to be weighed in. He was catching credible fish.
No.
Then
I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but what I just said is pretty close. It was like 9-pounder, 5-pounder, 4-pounder, 3-pounder, 3-pounder, 4-pounder.
Yeah.
It was something like that. And they were on as fast as he could reel that crankbait in. He had another fish on
I think after his 9-pounder, and don't get me to line, but I want to say his next 7 casts, I think he had 5.
Well, that was where he caught 6 in a row there. So he caught the 9-pounder and then caught like 5 more in a row.
Yeah, that's right. And
like
then
on 6 consecutive casts had bass.
Then he caught a couple sand bass. Then he caught another couple in a row.
Yeah.
And then started catching sand bass again. It was funny too because I was watching him. He was like, "Oh, yeah, it's a sand bass. I know it's a sand bass." And he's just sitting there playing with it. Flips in the boat. And he's like, "Oh, look at that, Sandy called it." I'm like, God, these guys are good.
Yep. One thing is for certain, these guys are very good.
I wonder how much paint that DT10 had left on it. Them big fish will tear up your crankbait.
Yeah,
paint skins.
that's one of them old balsa baits, though.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's check this out. Let's go to the knockout round. All right. Now, the knockout round was a dogfight, like I said.
Oh, they were. Yeah, that was awesome drama to watch.
Because Michael Neal and Bobby Lane were nipping their dots.
The weight in the bottom hat, like the last 5 spots, was all like within a pound or 2 of each other.
You're literally within 1 fish.
There was 10 or 15 guys that every time they caught a fish were in and now they're out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they said on the live coverage that was the most inside the cut line, outside the cut line changes they'd ever had in any round.
I mean, in all reality, I mean, they all caught about the same amount of fish.
I know.
Like from 13th to 8th, it was just a pound or 2 bigger fish.
I know. It was so tight.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
It's great. I mean,
it was a great event.
Because nobody was getting bit just a whole heck of a lot in the knockout round.
You know, I said before, this was my personal biggest bass fishing tournament that I'd ever had, like the most excitement to watch because A, it's the greatest bass fishing roster that's ever been assembled, and I think we've discussed that. And I don't think we haven't had any blowback on that. Like, there's no arguing. This is the most talented bass fishing roster that's ever been assembled.
Correct.
B, it's at my home lake. C, it's at that time of year where things happen.
Yeah.
And so I was so excited for this event, and I'll tell you, it exceeded expectations. This was the most entertaining bass fishing tournament that I've ever watched in my life. When you combine everything, the hometown factor with Sprague, the MDJ day where he caught 80 whatever pounds out of one little slough that's marked on the Fish Life app, by the way, and has been since March 1st.
Yep.
So the Fish Life app has MLF quality, leading quality information on it, just in case you're wondering. And by the way, that first day, I was able to identify where 4 guys were fishing. I didn't get to watch every minute of the coverage,
right,
but in the limited time I did watch it, I could tell where 4 of those guys were based on the backgrounds in the video.
That's right.
3 of those 4 guys were fishing on spots that are marked on the Fish Life app. So the Fish Life app, timeout from Tournament Talk. Here's a little sponsor plug or our company plug. Mm-hmm. The Fish Life app has the best information that's ever been offered. It's so good that when the best in the world come to town, they're fishing the same areas that we're putting on that app. And I'm not trying to tell you they're using that app. That's not what I'm saying. I have no official affiliation with anybody on that tour. What I'm telling you is the best in the world are fishing the type of information that we're giving out for a pretty good, fair price on our app.
Reasonable is a good word.
Reasonable is a good word. Yep.
So let's, hey, can we start?
But anyway, there's that. There's all those aspects. And then there's the fact that, you know, the elimination drama, the knockout drama, and then they go to Athens and the whole Ott Defoe thing. Like, this was my favorite bass fishing tournament I've ever watched.
Oh, it was great. It was awesome.
Amazing. There's a little hometown bias in that, to be fair, but for me, it was my favorite.
Can we start, you know, like they do in the UFC? Can we start giving these guys names like they do in the UFC? Because we could, like, for example, MBJ, Mark Methylate Worm Daniels Jr. Like, what do you think? Can we do
Mark the Methylate Daniels?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I think we just changed Mark to Methylate. Methylate Daniels Jr.
I like it.
That's your new name, MDJ. It's Methylate Daniels Jr.
And then like Jeff Swimbait Sprague. You
Yeah.
know? Hey.
Yeah.
I like it.
Although he never threw a swim bait that term. He did nothing but sight fish.
Which surprised me,
Yeah,
honestly.
me too.
Because he likes some big baits.
fish.
But
Yeah,
anyways.
we talked about that a little bit too.
Yeah.
So we going in the tournament, I was like, man, the guy that figures out that deal on the points with the swim bait, blah blah blah, stage, blah
But
blah.
things drastically changed.
When we filmed that on Sunday, it was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, everything. Scrap all that.
Oh, yeah.
Scrap all that because we went from having this kind of dreary, cold water temp staying in the 50s, pre-spawn fish, not really wanting to move all the way up yet, to holy cow, it's 85 degrees, which wasn't in the forecast, by the way.
Correct.
Just all of a sudden, it got 85 and sunny and calm for about 3 days.
Yes.
Like for half of one day and 2 whole days the other.
I mean, the stars lined up. The fishing gods were like,
And the full moon was on Monday
Yep.
that week. And then right behind the full moon, all this happened. And, dude, it just got stupid. Like, every fish, it seemed like, I mean, it wasn't every fish, obviously. There'll be fish still spawning for 2 more months on Lake Fork.
Right, exactly.
It felt like every fish in the lake was going to the bank. And they were going to the bank all over the lake.
well, and I thought it was crazy, too, that Brandon Coulter, day one, stayed relevant and, like, way up there on a pre-spawn pattern.
On a stage deal. He was the one guy, and Michael Neal did too.
Michael Neal.
Those 2 guys were the 2 guys that had the main lake deal going, had the staging fish going.
Right.
Coulter, more especially, he was fishing something like what he was fishing was something I thought would win.
Right.
And to be fair, he won his group doing that.
That's right.
Now he didn't blow it out like I thought. I thought if somebody figured that deal out, they blow it out. There just was so many fish going to the bank. Like if that deal would have happened the week before, Brandon Coulter on what he was doing would have just blown everybody away.
Oh, we'd have left him in
I
park.
don't know if he'd have caught any more total weight or not because the bite was tougher the week before, a lot tougher. Mm-hmm. But he would have blown everybody out of the water on that pattern.
Right.
But if it would have happened the week before, all those guys would have been doing that pattern, and who knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, you can sit here and it's fun to sit here and like think about all the
right.
different scenarios. All I know is at the end of the day, we got the most awesome, entertaining bass fish tournament I've ever seen. All the fish ran to the bank. Guys were going around looking. Oh, there's an 8-pounder. There's a 7-pounder. There's a 10-pounder. Like it was stupid, man.
Dumb.
It was stupid.
We can talk this blue in the face. I ain't
Yeah.
getting the heck out of it.
Yeah.
So in the knockout round, let's just run down some weights. We'll go from 8th to 1st. Ott Defoe, 10 fish for 34 pounds. Jeff Sprague, 10 for 35. Brent Chapman, 11 for 37. Thrifty, 10 for 38. Justin Atkins, again, 11 for 41. Justin Atkins was targeting the best average fish.
Yeah, 4-pound.
Pretty much,
today.
yeah.
I mean, I just don't think you're going to see, especially on a lake like Fork, with a 2-pound minimum, you're not going to get much below that 3-pound average.
No, you're not.
Probably in most of their tournaments, you're not going to get much below that 3-pound
Probably
average,
so.
honestly.
Yep. Keith Poche, 13 for 42. Alton Jones Jr., 11 for 42. And Andy Montgomery, 13 for 45. And then we moved to Athens.
Well, read the Athens numbers.
Oh, I'm about to. Oof. Guys, we're just giving the top 10, so I don't want any pros getting mad at me.
Yeah, no, I mean, there were some guys, obviously, you know, in any fishing tournament, there's going to be guys that do well and guys that struggle.
Right.
Right? That's going to happen.
Right.
So the guys at the bottom of the top 10 here are, you know, they struggled. They didn't catch a lot of fish. They didn't catch very many big fish. That's the way it goes. You got, you know, Brian Thrift, one of the best fishermen on earth. He only caught 4 for 10. Justin Atkins had 4 for 11. Andy Montgomery had 5 for 11. Then things start to change a little bit. Sprague had 7 for 20. Poche had 9 for 21. Coulter had 12 for 28. Brent Chapman had 13 for 37. MDJ had 13 for 39. Alton Jones had 13 for 41. So everybody's there was like 3 other guys, Brent Chapman, Mark Daniels, and Alton Jones, that were all pretty close there, pretty even. Mm-hmm. 1 fish away either way. Then Ott Defoe has 23 for 69 pounds. And he didn't take the lead until there was like 30 minutes left in the competition. He caught all that weight right at the last minute, dude. That was insane. So I guess you can get below the 3-pound average because a lot of these guys did. I mean, 9 for 21, that's almost, Poche was catching barely keepers that day.
Well, but you also think, I mean,
Chapman had a 3-pound average. MDJ had a 3-pound average. Alton Jones had a 3.5-pound average. Ott Defoe had a 3-pound average almost exactly. So I think the guys that are going to have success on the MLF with a 2-pound minimum, most of the time, no matter what lake you're on, is going to be about a 3-pound average.
Right.
But we talked about that about Athens too. There's a lot of 2-pound fish in Athens.
There's a ton of fish. Period.
And a lot in
Athens.
A lot in that 2-pound. Now there's giants in there, obviously.
There is.
9-pounder.
Oh, yeah.
Only 10 guys fishing it. 9-pounder gets kicked out in the one day they fish. So there's big giant fish. I mean, me and Zach Watts both had 12-pounders. One of my customers and Zach Watts both had 12-pounders out of Lake Athens last year, and we hardly ever fished there.
Right.
Like 5 times a year, maybe.
Right.
Something like that. If that much, probably not that much. So now Zach fishes it probably, 15 times a year or whatever. He fishes it more than I do. But anyway, point is, Athens does have big fish, but it's got a lot of 2-pounders.
It does. Crazy tournament.
Crazy tournament.
They need to come back next month.
Next week. Hell.
Yeah, come back next week.
Bring it on back.
Boy.
Now, what's going to happen? Of course, now we've talked about what's going on in the world. We haven't talked about it, but we've, obviously everybody knows what's going on with coronavirus, social distancing, people getting shut down from doing different activities. Cody Cannon can't tour. We all know what's going on with that. Bass fishing tournaments are obviously a gathering of people of sorts, somewhat. They've eliminated the crowd interaction at MLF. I know that. They just had an FLW tournament on the Pro Tour. FLW Pro Tour just happened this week.
On Lake Martin.
What went on? Because bro, I tuned out. I didn't even know. I forgot all about it and kind of didn't keep up with it. To be honest with you, things have been a little hectic in the guide business world, trying to make sure I'm keeping up with cancellations and refills, and everything's going crazy business wise. But talk to us about the FLW Pro Tour. You got some info on that?
Yes, sir. So, let's go to results. So, Lake Martin was the 18th. Today was the last day. I'm trying to pull this up. I'm trying to figure out how to read this dang deal. they've got this.
Make it more confusing on you?
Well, it's kind of weird. So, Jason Abram won Lake Martin.
So, where are we at? Lake Martin in Alabama. Mm-hmm. Is that a Tennessee River lake?
It's Tennessee River.
I think it's a Tennessee River lake.
52 pounds, 9 ounces.
And how many days is that?
4.
4 days. So 52 pounds, 9 ounces won a 4-day tournament on Lake Martin. And that's the FLW Tour. That's the best 5 format. That's the big fish format, right? That's the big fish format.
The
right?
big fish format, yeah.
Let's average out 20 pounds for how much was it? 52? What's 52 divided by 4, Chris?
Not what they were catching in MLF.
I'm sorry. What's 52 divided by 20 is what I meant to say. What's 52 divided by 20?
Not very good.
It's 2.5 pounds.
Yeah, it ain't much.
That's what won it. Okay, what won it? Let's go down.
The guys that were doing that on BPT weren't even making the cut, Jack.
Well, this was a shootout tournament. I mean, it was close. 52-9, 51-8, 51-0, 49-3, 49-1, 48-5, 47. Wow, that was a really close, tight event. Let's go down to 10th. Was 43.10 for 20 fish. That's a 2-pound average.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to make the whole little fish, big fish argument about best 5 versus every fish counts, I mean, I think it's kind of over. Yeah. It's kind of over. I mean, now we're comparing Lake Fork to Lake Martin, I guess.
Right.
Spotted bass fishery, but,
Well.
Point being, you're supposed to catch bigger fish in the best 5 format. It's just not happening this year.
Right. But.
Well, congratulations to Justin Abrams, though.
Yeah.
I'm not real familiar with his resume or background.
Yeah, I'm not either.
In fact, there wasn't one thing I do. One guy that had a really good finish was one of our local guys, Jordan Osborne, had a top 10 finish, I believe, on Lake Martin this weekend. Jordan actually owns Solid Golden Pond in Longview, a great little tackle store in Longview. If you're in the area, go check it out. And Jordan's a 6th Sense guy, or he used to be. I don't know if he still. I think he still is. But I've met Jordan. Jordan's one of the nicest people, man. He's a really nice guy, really humble guy. Kind of surprised himself qualifying for the FLW Tour from what the story he told me, but he's done really well since he's been there and had another top 10 finish this week. So good job, Jordan. Congratulations. What are you looking up now?
Oh, I'm looking up.
Remember, there's people listening, not watching. They don't see you looking at your phone. They just hear silence.
I understand that. But
what are we looking up?
Looking at that.
Okay, Elite Series event at Chickamauga has been postponed
which was supposed to be the 19th through the 22nd.
of March.
Which today is the 22nd.
That was supposed to be this week. Okay, so they postponed their Elite Series event for this weekend. What about MLF? When is their next event? Let's start looking that up.
Next one is-
Bassmaster has now postponed their Elite Series events. Obviously, they're going to keep postponing them until something changes with this coronavirus situation.
Jordan Lake, Falls Lake.
Oh, the North Carolina deal where they went last year. What are they saying anything? What's the dates on that, Chris?
The dates on that one is April 2nd through April 8th.
So they're probably going to wait one more week to make a decision. Who knows if that'll be postponed or...
Yeah, well, as far as the coverage showing up right now, it's saying, they just posted this the other day, Raleigh weights and numbers have potential to be even more impressive. So they're not having any talks right now.
So let's talk about that. So the deal is with Bassmaster, the Elite Series, at every one of their events, they have vendors, many vendors, huge fan events.
And the weigh-ins are a very heavily publicized deal.
They're a crowded event.
Yep.
I mean, it's like a concert or something like that. And a big part of their business plan and their business model is these vendors that pay money to set up booths at every Elite Series type event.
Correct.
Well, obviously, they're not allowed to have that part of the business operating right now.
Right.
Like, that's restricted by the government with everything that's going on. So Bassmaster's having to delay their event. Otherwise, a big chunk of their money is going to have to be refunded to these vendors who have already sent checks in, and no business likes to send back a bunch of big checks.
You know, they kind of got the short end of the stick with everything that's going on because the MLF deal, just the way their format is, there is no way and there is no interaction, so they can just put out...
Well, yeah, I mean, the MLF event at Fork, they had no... I mean, there was people that were there at launch. We saw some of that on our last podcast episode if you watched the video format version, which it seems like most of you do consume it in video format. We were there that morning, that Saturday morning, or Sunday, was it Sunday morning? Sunday morning.
It was Sunday morning.
We were there for the launch for day 2 of Group A. There was quite a few people there. I mean, it wasn't a huge crowd, but it was nothing like a Bassmaster tournament normally draws.
Right.
But there was no vendors. There was no big gathering. It's just these anglers amongst themselves, and they're kind of one at a time. They can still maintain distance between each other for the most part during this event. So you're right. Because of the way their format is, and they don't have a big portion of their business is not vendor money.
Right.
They can still have their tournaments, I guess, until somebody tells them otherwise, makes them stop.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit bad for those guys and their families having to do all that traveling right now. I'm sure that makes them a little hesitant about things. But
Yeah. I mean, but you know as well as I do, they'll take all the necessary precautions and all that good stuff. So.
yeah, they'll do everything they can. I mean, listen, I'm as big a skeptic on things as anybody. To be honest with you, in my personal opinion, I'm real skeptical about how I feel about our reaction as a whole to this COVID-19 situation. I'm not trying to get into a political debate or talk about that. But even me, as skeptic as I am, like, I don't want to drive to North Carolina right now.
No.
I don't want to.
No.
You know, and these guys will have to.
I mean, I don't
situation.
even want to go to Dallas. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
So
I don't want to drive through anywhere. I don't want to travel
No.
during this situation. And these guys are, if they keep hosting these events, are going to have to travel, which is,
Right.
you know, that's. But at the same time, they get 8 chances a year to make their money. We've talked about that too, and I don't think any of them will not show up. I think they'll keep coming.
I think they will too.
I think if they have the event, I think every one of them will show up. You know, I mean, there is an alternative. They could not go.
Yeah.
You know, and that's an unfair thing to ask, but they could.
Yeah. I'm hoping we get this deal over with and done with, so that way we can get back to enjoying. Because really, I mean, if you think about it, fishing's the last sport standing in this deal in a lot of aspects.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a Great Lake Fork event. If they go have this event at Raleigh, North Carolina, and last year they whacked them there.
Oh, yeah.
Around Sharon Harrison. If they go there and whack them there again, catch a bunch of bigs there again, which this time of year I have no doubt they will, and they're the only game in town, because I'm sure the FLW Pro Tour is about to have to start canceling or postponing their stuff as well. I mean, the local derbies are getting postponed and canceled.
So I fished a tournament on Lake Tyler yesterday, and they were letting us weigh in like no more than 5 people. So you got a guy weighing the fish, you got a guy putting it down on the clipboard, you got a guy observing the weigh-in as a whole, and they'd let us come up one at a time even at that.
I can't believe you got to fish a tournament yesterday. I mean, all the ones I've been hearing about, all the tournaments have been canceling. Like, we were supposed to have a Mega Bass tournament on Lake Fork this weekend.
I'll put it to you this way. Yeah, I know.
It didn't happen.
I know. So check this out. So it's a little jackpot of 6 to noon jackpot on Lake Tyler, $20 a person, so 40 a boat. Nothing crazy, just fun to get out there and compete, go catch some fish. It's a 3-fish stringer. It's usually about...
It's a weekly deal, right? They do it every week?
Every week.
Yeah.
And it's usually about 15. You might get 20 boats once the weather starts cooperating.
Mm-hmm.
One of those deals. Last week there was 54 boats in that tournament. This week there was damn near, if not 50. Because you got to think, you ain't got Fishers and Men out there. You ain't got JC Outdoors. I mean, that joker was crowded, buddy.
Wow.
I know. Can you imagine? Somebody got paid.
Yeah, and all these fishermen are all going to have the Coronas.
All of them.
We're all getting everybody. You just gave me Corona because you were at that tournament yesterday. Thanks, bro.
Man. But, I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's insane, man. I mean, it is a very concerning time in the world. It's something that is unprecedented, like we said earlier, unprecedented in our lifetime. Mm-hmm. The virus is one thing, and listen, it's killing people, and that's very unfortunate. A lot of these people were at-risk people that could have died from the flu or anything else. That's true. It's still unfortunate that it's killing people. It's unfortunate that it's spreading as fast as it is, and we don't really... The big shame of it to me is we don't really know how to stop it. There is no answer for it, so I don't understand why we're hiding from it. We're not going to stop it from spreading anyway. I understand they're trying to slow down the acceleration of it, but there's nothing to do but kind of at this point see if you survive it. Honestly, in my opinion, you're going to get it. You're going to carry it at some point. Most people, luckily... The vast majority of people, despite what you hear in the news, folks at home, the vast majority of people are surviving this thing.
Yes.
The numbers originally out of China were like 3 to 4% death rate.
It's a 0.02% is what I saw.
No, in people our age.
That's what I'm saying.
In people our age, it's 0.02.
Yeah.
Even as a whole, with the elderly and everything, some estimates now, because what happened was when they were first collecting the data, there was a ton of people that had it that never even sought medical attention of any kind because their symptoms weren't severe.
Right.
And they didn't feel that bad. Mm-hmm. So there was a ton of people that actually had it, carried it, never even knew they had it, or just got a little down and dump, felt bad, a little cold or something, and were fine. Now that they're starting to actually collect more data on that, I actually saw one study say that the death rate is actually being counted in China as low as 1.4% now for a total death rate. Now, that's still way more deadly than a flu, but the point of that article that I read was by the time they actually get all the data included and count all the people that actually had it and died from it, it could actually be very comparable numbers to the normal flu.
Right.
It could get really close to that. So, it's not nearly as deadly as the news. The news's job is not to report information that help you. The news's job anymore is not to report accurate, honest information. The news has one job, and that's to get you to watch and click on links. And boy, is this a jackpot for them because everybody is scared to death because this is something we can't control, right?
I mean, here's a question. If you could literally write the same sentence, send it across as a notification to everybody's phone, but if you put breaking news before that sentence, it's going to get astronomically more clicks.
Yeah, and this deal, obviously everybody's scared to death because, like I said, we all love our families.
Correct.
Nobody wants to see their elderly mother pass away from coronavirus.
Nope.
Nobody wants to see their little kid get the flu and get sick. So we're all scared to death of this thing because there's no stopping it. There's kind of no containing it, controlling it. So the news is preying on our paranoia and making a whole lot of money because we're all, dude, I've looked it up a million times.
Oh, dude, I watched Fox News for 4 hours.
I'm as skeptic of it as anybody, but I'm watching more news and paying more attention and clicking more links than I ever do. So the news media is bankrolling because they're going to sell ads based on that attention that we're giving them. Attention is money in today's world, folks.
Correct.
In case you didn't know how social media works, the people that get the eyeball time get the money. That's how it works in the end. They use it to sell ads and do sponsorship. It's how I get money in sponsorships, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, I get paid based on how much attention you guys pay to this channel. Right. But the news just doesn't have any ethics anymore.
Yeah, I was fixing to say it's a completely different aspect of attention.
And now politicians are getting involved and governors are issuing warnings and everything's just so overblown, man. It's so overblown. Yeah, do you need to try and limit your travel? Probably so. Hey, do you need to, especially if you have an elderly person or some underlying conditions, do you need to protect your butt and quarantine yourself, try to avoid getting this? Yep, you sure do. But if you're a normal dude, you can still go to work.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to kill you. Go to work. Like, you got a better chance of dying in your car driving to work than you do dying from this. Like, a way better chance.
Yep.
But nobody's talking about how many deaths alcohol causes every day, and that's a way bigger pandemic than this shit will ever be.
That's right.
But nobody's talking about that on the news because that ain't going to get clicks because that's been around forever.
Or heart disease.
Yeah. I mean, there's a million things.
Oh, I know.
There's a whole list of things that are more deadly than this virus that nobody's talking about, that are currently active in our society every day, right? That are way more deadly than this. If you look at the news, is not to be trusted. The politicians are having, this is what you call a CYA situation, Chris.
Cover your ass.
This is a CYA situation where politicians, school boards, state government officials, major employers on corporate levels are having to say, okay, nobody come. Because if somebody now, because the news has made this such a big deal and blown it out of proportion, if somebody comes to your event and gets coronavirus, then you're going to sue them because they made you come to work. Or because they didn't restrict you from doing something. Because in today's society, that's a lawsuit happy society. Everybody's just doing this to cover their butts. Like Trump is telling us how we need to isolate ourselves and blah, blah, blah. Because if this thing spreads across the country and becomes a bigger deal than what it is right now, and he didn't issue that warning, he's politically dead. Mm-hmm. It's a cover your rear end situation right now.
That's right. But
if you look at the actual factual data of it, it's not that scary, folks. It's scary for certain people in certain situations.
Oh, yeah.
But for 99% of us, 1.4%, it's not that scary, right? Like,
yep.
Come on now. Let's calm down. Quit buying. And what the hell does toilet paper have to do with it?
Oh.
All right, Billy rant time. What does toilet paper have to do with the damn COVID? Can anybody answer that? Like, you don't get diarrhea with this thing. Y'all know that, right? Like, why is everybody buying so much toilet paper?
It's a comfort thing with people. I'm just telling you, that's what it is.
Somebody's like, we're gonna run out of toilet paper, and then people freak out. It's like mass hysteria, man.
I saw something online the other day.
Y'all know that I've got all the toilet paper I need on a bunch of oak trees out in my backyard. Just so y'all know, I got a whole bunch of oak trees in my backyard. Like, we got toilet paper for life, Jack.
Hey, story time. I buy toilet paper on Penny at Brookshire's, so I do have a lot of toilet paper in my house. But that's not because of the COVID. I ain't bought toilet paper in 2 months, and I probably won't need to buy toilet paper for another 2 months. Just so you know.
I'm gonna have to come get some from you, homie.
Hey, I got you, pimp.
Give me some of that Corona toilet paper.
Hey, so check this out. So I saw something on the news, or on the book face the other day, and dude, this had me rolling. Like I belly chuckled a lot harder than I should have. But it was a picture of the bread aisle at a Walmart, and there wasn't no bread. And the caption said, "Please tell me y'all are not using this as an alternative."
That is greatness. That is greatness.
A buddy of mine told me at one of the stores that he services, he said people were stealing individual eggs out of the carton, putting it in their pockets. Dude, I would Napoleon Dynamite you in a heartbeat if I saw people stealing eggs and putting them in their pockets. You know, he kicks the tater tots.
Oh, man. Man.
Oh, I'm telling you, what a time to be alive.
It is, yeah. What a time to be alive is correct. I'm trying to pull up something a buddy of mine sent me. We'll give Kelly Nutt a shout out. Good friend of mine, Kelly Nutt, who has, I think he's been on the channel once or twice.
Yeah, he has.
He sent me something that just cracked me up the other day too about this deal. It's socks lining up, like kids going into something. Socks lining up going into the dryer. It says, "Stay together or you'll end up as toilet paper."
Oh my God!
Don't become the solo sock. You'll end up as toilet paper, boys.
Golly. Yeah. Well, I guess
we're all gonna go. Remember though, when you got you wouldn't know this, you ain't got no kids. When you got babies, like there's people that are like, "Oh, don't use disposable diapers. Wash your diapers. Use cloth diapers and wash your diapers." Like, are we all getting to that point where we're gonna have to start using cloth butt wiping utensils and then wash them? We're just gonna start wiping our butt with rags and then wash them over and over again?
Look, I don't know if this is too much for the channel, but you ain't gonna catch me doing it, because if I accidentally have an accident, them underwear getting thrown away, Jack. Like, I'm not even trying to wash those.
I feel like this is something you've been through before.
Yeah, I mean, allegedly.
Allegedly. I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah. I plead the fifth, F-I-F, the fifth. I'm glad
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm glad you knew where I was going with that. That's good. Oh, shout out Snoop Dogg. We'd love to have you on the channel, Pod.
Snoop Dogg and Dave Chappelle, either one. It's all great.
Y'all are welcome anytime.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we would definitely talk to Snoop Dogg or Dave Chappelle. I don't know that we've reached that status yet. I'm gonna be honest with you. Very loose term of the best ever. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we'd have to put Dave Chappelle on like a 30-second delay.
No, we just roll with it.
Oh, my God.
Like we go live.
Well, look, dude.
And we would go live and accept the consequences and repercussions of that situation.
Because he was offending people before it was cool. So people are accepting of him.
I think the deal is if you have like a for real comedian type person like that on, and then they say something that's offensive, like comedians can say anything.
Yeah, you can't. There's no backlash.
Like,
yeah.
If I throw out some racial terms and racial jokes, people are gonna be mad at me.
Right.
But if a full time, sure enough, comedian comes on here and throws out some racial slang and some racist jokes, everybody's gonna laugh.
Oh yeah.
And nobody's gonna care. Like I don't know how this. It's like Ronnie Kelly. He gets away with saying stuff.
I know.
That I could never say.
Oh, I know.
In situations where I could never say it. But it's because he just always does that, I think.
Dude, I made a joke the other day to somebody, and they looked at me dead in the eyes, and they were like, did you really just say that? And I said, yeah. And they were like, how do you sleep at night? I said, on my left side.
Yeah.
And they didn't think I was funny saying that either.
Yep. Oh, man, it's something else. Dude, this has been a fun podcast. We had Cody Cannon tonight. We got to talk about the most entertaining bass fish tournament I've ever seen in my life. Fishing's great. It's a great time to be on the lake. You know, other than the world going kind of crazy and maybe overreacting a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I could be wrong. I could look like an idiot when this is all said and done.
I could too.
But just from what I'm seeing, I think we might be overreacting just a touch. Like, it's insane. Stop the madness, people. Jesus H. Hey, man, we're going to wrap it up and say we appreciate you guys watching. Please check out sixcensfishing.com. When you go there, if you purchase anything, be sure to punch in that code, Your Lake Fork Guide. Get a 10% discount on all your orders. Chris, do that thing you do.
Here's my advice before we leave. Get off Bookface, go fishing. Have a nice day. West Side!